Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Welcome, and we have so much to talk about to wrap up June. Just in sheer amount of events and fun stuff that happened. So I'm going to spend a little time on that before I get into the wrap up of the book. So if you want to skip to that part, go ahead and shoot over. But I always like to do a little recap of events as well. And May just had a lot of stuff going on. I participated in 2 readathons, which was fantastic. Like, truly, I had so much fun. I wish I was able to participate more, but I also had a lot in my personal life going on, and so that made it difficult. There also was the release of Off Campus, and I've been reviewing that. I did a reread of that. I was also on a podcast twice, which was just so much fun. I can't even tell you. I was working on crafts. I am currently working on the book boxes for May, which I'm hoping to send out. It probably won't be by the end of this week because I'm actually leaving Friday morning for a friend from high school. His wife is throwing a surprise birthday party for him, and I'm hoping to be there for it. I'm not hoping, I will be there for it. So I'm not sure that I'll get through all that stuff, but things were just so much fun this month, and I love that. And there's a lot of fun things coming in June and July as well, so I just love that. So that does mean that this coming weekend, it's looking like I won't have a weekly wrap-up. Going into summertime, you guys know the drill. There are quite a few weekends where I won't have recaps, and there'll be a double recap then the weekend after that, just because of how it's going to go. This coming weekend, I'm going to be gone Friday and Saturday. And even if I do get back by Sunday, it'll be late in the day. So I won't be able to get up a weekly wrap up this weekend. I'm hoping to, all things go well, have a rec video to go up still for Sunday so that I have something. But for sure, if I don't have something for Sunday, I will put up a video for Tuesday instead of skipping Tuesday videos like I've been doing. But anyway, that's just a little admin. But yes, I'm planning to be at that, and I haven't read enough yet to do a weekly wrap up this early. That would be silly, so we'll just wait a little bit there. But let's go through kind of chronologically, quickly through things. So the Ever Afterathon started, which was really cool. We had a fun kickoff, but then we'll talk about the Mafia Readathon first, since the Ever Afterathon didn't end until just a couple days ago. But there was the Mafia Romance Readathon, which I don't want to show my whole thing because it also has spoilers for this, but this was the fun little spread I did for the Mafia Romance Readathon. I had my returning hosts from the previous 2 years, which was great. We had Kyan, Helen, Amber, and Jess, who all joined me, and it was so much fun. We just did a little weekend this time. It was May 7th through the 10th, and I have heard the feedback. People wish we had a little bit more time, but with me participating in the Ever Afterathon, I just didn't want to stretch it out too long. I really wanted to have fun with Crystal and support it. So we'll see if next year, if I'm asked back to be a part of Ever Afterathon, and if it is during May as well, which it probably will be because that's her birthday month. But if I'm not one of the co-hosts next month, maybe I'll still have the Mafia Readathon be a bit longer. But I also liked it being a weekend. It makes it easier to really concentrate on just reading Mafia, at least for me, just with what my schedule is. And since I'm the one who plans it and puts it all together, we kind of got to go with what Jen has time for anyway, right? But it was an absolute blast, and I really do enjoy how I do it with the hiding of the points. And, you know, this year myself, I didn't even make it to the top, and I think having it only be 4 days, it is more competitive that way too, but you're only competing against yourself, right? The only pressure is against yourself. You're not letting anyone down. There's not a team thing going. It's just as much as you want to read. And that's cool. And some people want it to be even more competitive, which we'll talk about with the Ever Afterathon. But I just love it. You know, it's been 5 years I've been doing this readathon, and it just makes me so happy. So love doing that. Then yes, the Ever Afterathon, which was the entire month, and the way that Crystal from Ever After, Books for Ever After does this is that in in previous, it was a historical romance readathon specifically, but I guess this was last year too, and this year that all the books you read counted. It's just that sometimes historical could count for more, or the hack that I found is actually that the Holinoff fics that I read were actually worth more too, because the things that she weighted for more points were if you read diverse or LGBTQ, or if you were reading historical books. And since I have been on a tear with Holinoff, which I actually read a little bit less than normal because I had a few other things to get to, but I still read a good amount, as you'll see. Each one I read was a base of 800 points because Shane is mixed race and they're also LGBTQ. So right away I got a base of 800 for each thing that I read. It was very difficult to find out who an author of a fic is because it's all anonymous. There was only one time where I was able to tell who it was because it was a translated work from an Asian country, so I was able to make that leap. But otherwise, still, that was really cool. The way things worked out, though, my team was last, and a big part of that was the fact that we were the second largest team. And I think we did have a lot of members who didn't read too much, which is totally fine. Like, for real. It's totally fine. This isn't supposed to be pressure. I'm just super competitive. So any of the stuff I'm about to bitch about right now is because I'm competitive and not because anybody needs to do more than they need to do. I'm always very clear about what my limitations are, and they are that I am a competitive hoe. Okay, that's where this is coming from. But one of the things is when you have like a popular team and people want to be on your team, and the spy was really fun. That one also, I had been telling people, that one's the one that had enemies to lovers on it. So if you were going to read mafia romance, doing the spy was a good way to double up with the readathon. So we had the second largest team with 28 members, but that means that your points get divided by that many people. That's how it's done to kind of make it fair. So like we had a total number of points, which were the second highest, but still half of that of the Beast, right? So the Beast, which of course is the most popular just because Beauty and the Beast was the most popular archetype. And that had literally almost double us with 48 people were on the Beast team. And they were obviously reading a lot because they had almost 50 people and they had over 500,000 points. And then we were second after that with 28 people, and we had 233,000 points, so almost 250,000 points. But ours had to be divided the same as theirs, so whatever, it was the same way. And the Beast didn't win either. The artist actually did, which was the smallest team. The smallest team actually won, which that kind of makes sense. Anyway, I won't break down the whole thing, but if you've done a few of these readathons where your points get like aggregated, where they get divided out, you know that a smaller team who reads the same as the bigger team will win because their points don't get divided the same. Like their points count equally for what they read, whereas someone who, literally the Beast team was 4 times the size of theirs, each thing they read has to get divided by 4, right? There's a lot more of them doing it though, which is why their points get divided. If they were just added the way they are, that would be disastrous. So, the only way to make that fun is to let people pick their team. The other way to do it is to actually assign people to a team, right? To make it even. But then, that's not as fun. It always goes that way. So anyway, this is just, I've now been a part of 5 or 6 readathons where this is how it's done. And this is just always how it is, right? And once you get momentum for it too, it's really hard to change it back. Like the artists, they were on top of it. This isn't to take anything away from them. They absolutely deserved it. 13 people on Team Artists were able to defeat all the other teams, which was great. And I love that so many people participated in Crystal's readathon, and it was so much fun. That's why I really try not to focus on the points. Of course, you say that when you're the loser, because I just enjoy doing it so much. But it is also tough when, that's just how the cookie crumbles and you feel like you're getting behind and then there's nothing you can do to catch up because some people, there's just no way anyone can read as much as I shouldn't say no way. There are people reading as much as me, but there's no way that all 30 people on my team can read as much as me, right? But that's why I wrote down an example. So I added up, I kept track of all my points. And then at the end where the readathon ended, we could count the book we were reading up to how many pages we'd read in it. So I myself was up to 22,773 points. So I was basically 1/10 the amount of points that were put in for 28 people, right? Because I read a lot and I know that. But the average points per spy on our team was only 8,340 points, right? So that just lets you know how much the higher readers have to read to help average it out, right? So I don't say any of this to ever discourage someone from jumping on a team because I want you. Again, I'm just saying, when you're on teams like this, it can be a little disheartening when you are like, how are we losing? I'm reading so much. But the thing for me with this is I would read this much no matter what. And it's so much fun. And I love how much work was put into this. Like, I love my spread for this. You know, I'd had my little theme for the spy was the gold colors, and I made a cute little spread for him. I printed out stuff and I had so much fun, and I absolutely would go back again. Can't wait to see what she comes up with. But just my like final take on that. One of the reasons why I do the Mafia Readathon the way that I do, I've been asked to do teams before. I've thought about doing teams before. And the thing for me is that I just don't really like having to divide people's points by it that way. I've done one readathon where I did it that way to average it out, and like I just don't like doing it because I'd like you to be able to count what you do towards the prize of it, right? It's just hard because then it's not fair anyway, because right, the beasts would absolutely crush all of us if their team was it. So really the only way to make it fair then would be to like put people on teams to have there be an even amount of people on every team. And then you kind of have like amounts against like amounts. But that's just never going to be that way. There's always going to be a team that's more popular, either because of who the host is or because of what the theme is. And there's always going to be people who read more because they're competitive, or because that's the point of a readathon, is to help you be competitive and want to read more. So I love it. Anyway, all this stuff is not me complaining about it. I'm just sharing with you the observations that I get from it. And it's not to discourage anything. Those are just the facts of how it lays out. And it's still super fun. It's just analyzing. I also love data. So I love analyzing it on the back end. And I also say to Crystal, thank you so much for handling the data and the, all the stuff coming in on that end so that we get to have fun and enjoy it. Well, she doesn't get to like read as much and do as much fun because she has to handle all the admin when you do it, right? So that's amazing. And thank you so much to her for that. So what else do I want to talk about that? Let's move on to the other stuff quick. So let's talk about my crafts real quick. During both of the readathons, I was working on baby blankets, and I have sent off the baby blankets, but a couple things to share. One of the projects I made was kind of a fail, but it was a happy fail. I was following this one pattern, particularly during the Mafia Readathon, to do this one baby blanket, but I like using this really chunky yarn, and the pattern was for using a like very much smaller weighted yarn, and so this ended up being literally the size of me. So I ended up with a blanket that I kept for myself, which is not a bad thing, but it was in these greens and grays. Let's see the other color in here. That was supposed to be for one of my friends who's having a boy, and I ended up with a blanket for myself, although I may end up gifting it to my mom for her birthday, but I'm gonna use it and wash it once, because I like washing it and doing all that, and soften it up some more. So I ended up with this absolutely huge blanket, and even when I was about a third of the way done with it, I was like, this is not going to be a baby blanket. This is an adult blanket. But I like the pattern so much, so, and because I'm using the like bulk yarn, this whole thing only took me, I think, the weekend of the Mafia Readathon to make that one. And then after that one, I made the baby blanket for my friend. It's already sent off and everything. I'll insert a picture if I remember to. If I don't, it also still has greens, but that one, then I ended up using a multi-colored yarn, and went through that. But then my lovely friend Linda, Linda, if you're watching this, I adore you. Thank you so much. She sent me some yarn from her collection that had been passed on to her, and she said she'd seen the projects I was working on, and she's like, I don't like to crochet with that bulk of yarn. Would you like some? Now, if you are a crafter of any kind, you know that you get offers to have things sent to you a lot, and you don't always want them. And so I have limited space in my apartment, so I asked Linda the facts. I'm like, okay, Linda, I love you. What actual type of yarn is this? And is it actually what I want? Or are you just trying to pass it off to me? And she knew what I was asking, right? And she's like, no, it's in these colors and it's this, and I think it's exactly what you want. And I was like, okay, I trust you. And boy, am I glad I did, because she sent me this gorgeous yarn. And this is my current project. I haven't added the next, I need to add a purple in next. But I thought I would show you my current project, which this one, it doesn't have any destination yet. This is the same thing with my cross stitching. Once I get in a project, I just want to keep doing the same thing. So this one doesn't have a specific destination yet. I may donate it to the women's shelter, or who knows, my friends are multiplying like crazy, so maybe someone else will. But this is the yarn she sent me. So there are some yarns with this multicolor, and then there's a solid purple. There was also a solid blue scent, but this one I'm not doing anything special with this pattern. It's literally just a double crochet and a single crochet stacked together. So I'm doing 4 sets of that, and then 1 set of a block color, and then back to the multi. So this one is about, for a baby blanket, it's about 2/3 done. I'll just probably do one more, I'll probably do 2 more sets of that, and then this will be done. So those are the projects I'm working on. I think we have spent enough time in, oh, one other thing I have to mention, the podcast I was a part of. I know I've talked about it multiple times, but I'm going to keep doing it because I had the best time. I was invited onto the Long Game podcast, which is the Long Game, a heated rivalry podcast with Declan and Sylvan. They've been doing their podcast since, dang, is it December? Because I think they started it before the show was over. I didn't start watching it then. I started watching it a little while later. But I have been watching it now since like February, and they first did review, like discussed all of the episodes, and then they started a book club, and they started with Game Changer, and now they're on to Heated Rivalry. And I've been commenting and watching it because I'm a stalker and I love what they have to say. And finally, all my comments worked. And Sylvan actually reached out and asked if I would like to come on. And he asked if I'd be interested in discussing fan fiction, because he didn't know, him and Declan weren't familiar with it at all. And I was like, hell yeah. So we've done 2 episodes. And the first one was just with Sylvan, and we discussed the background of fan fiction to the best of my ability, because I'll admit I am not an expert. I'm someone who just really jumps into something and goes for it. So I did quite a bit of research. I shared with him my research as well so that he could link it and everything, because I was like, I don't want to just come on here and spout falsehoods, and if I misspoke, I want people to know. But it is fascinating, the history of fan fiction and how far it goes back, what is actually considered fan fiction, what the legal ramifications are. And then this past Sunday, we had a second episode where I got to film with both him and Declan, and we swung back around to discuss a few things we'd missed, as well as now getting Declan's perspective on it, which is great. They're both so intelligent and kind, and I love getting their perspective as queer men as well, because that is a part of it that I obviously can't really do at all. I just have my completely obsessed female straight brain that is addicted to this, So that was fascinating. And it ended off with a little game we played where I read fan fiction descriptions to them to see if they were interested in any of them, which was so much fun. So please go check out those podcasts if you're interested. If you love listening to me ramble, listen to me ramble and fangirl over them and talk about fan fiction. It was great. As well as tell them that I came so that they want to have me back sometime, because I would love to go back. So now that I've spent 20 minutes on all of that stuff, I told you a lot of stuff happened in May. I didn't even get into off-campus because I've talked about off-campus in enough other videos. I still have one more to do about the last 2 episodes. I'll be honest, I'm not in a super hurry to get to that. I know the feedback, and I say this like it's a lot. There's only been 2 people who've said this, but I know other people think it. It's part of the reason why those videos haven't been watched much. It's because A, people haven't watched the show yet, so they don't want to watch my recaps yet. Totally get that. I'm not talking to you, that if that's you. because of course you don't want to spoil it for yourself. But also people like watching reaction videos for shows. They don't just like discussions. But that's what I like to do. I don't like to just do reaction to things. That's not what I film. That's not the content that I do. And even though that's more popular and it would get more views, I've already watched the show. I can't do a reaction now. And I don't like filming myself reacting to things. That's not the type of content that I make. And I'm not going to start doing that and change an entire like brand of me to fit that, you know? But I still want to finish out the series. I'm going to focus on some other stuff first. And when I have the time to watch episodes 7 and 8, I'm actually not, I also not really looking forward to rewatching episodes 7 and 8 because they're the most different from the book. They're the most things that I have to talk about. And they're also, the third act breakup and stuff like that, which is never fun anyway. So we'll get to that. But I did love watching the show. That was part of May. And it's crazy watching it be so popular, but I mean, it shouldn't surprise us. And it's fantastic to see all of it. And both, oh my gosh, there's so many other announcements too. Like just this week, we got the cover of Jacob's book for I'll Believe in Anything, the annotated scripts. We got the like sly announcement that there will be physical releases of DVD and Blu-ray for Heated Rivalry Season 1. No announcement of what the special content is, but since it's not coming until April, which is also when Season 2 is supposed to be coming, my guess is that it could have commentary on it because it would make the most sense to me. Sorry, let me just spiral for another minute. Why not? It's my video. Why not? Because they're going to be filming Season 2, it is a good time to have them do an episode reaction to and be filming any content for the DVDs or stuff like that if there's things they're going to do, because they'll already be filming Season 2. All the actors, the crew, the intimacy coordinator, all of them will be there. My personal guess and what I would wish for of everything, I, of course, would love commentary for every episode. Of course, I would love that. I would love that. To me, I don't think that's that realistic. I also think it's a bit of our sick brains that we want them to react to and analyze every sex scene and every moment. I don't think that's something that we need. What I would love is if we got an actor and director commentary for episode 5. The one that doesn't have any sex in it, but has some of the most important emotional things. It has the Russian monologue. It has Shane's injury. It has a lot of their most emotional beats. So either episode 5 or 6. 6 could even make sense because it's a finale too. That has a little bit of intimacy scenes to talk about. And it also has the really emotional acting for both of them in either of those. So that's what I wish for. If we get any actor commentary, I think it will be in either... I mean, it could be the first episode, but I think it being episode 5 or 6 actually makes the most sense. Because there's all aspects of the show that are important in episodes 5 and 6. It's just really voyeuristic of a lot of us to want to listen to Hudson and Connor react to them having simulated sex. And we don't need that. There's enough of us. There's enough that we have about them. But the technical parts of their craft, we really get to see in episodes 5 and 6. So anyway, I had to get that off my chest, and there's no other place for me to talk about it. So I'm talking about it here. I just think it would be great. Now, of course I want Jacob's thoughts on all of them, but I think that's what we're going to get with the I'll Believe in Anything book, is literally his annotated scripts and his thoughts on every episode. So if they were to do one episode, I think episode 5 makes the most sense. It's also the one that's called I'll Believe in Anything, right? It makes the most sense if that's the one we get an actor and director or the intimacy coordinator or any of that on that episode. And then maybe having, you remember back then they used to have like the author and, what if it was like Brendan and Rachel on one of them or something like that. But I mean, I have all of the ones for Outlander, and I do listen and have listened to all of the commentary on that the writers have done on the episodes. I do, and I have. And sometimes when I rewatch the episodes that are really, really heavy, I only listen to the commentary over the top because they're too hard for me to watch. Like, I've only watched Wentworth Prison straight through once. Okay, it is 25 minutes in, Jen. What the fuck are you doing? Okay, let's get to June or my May stats and everything. I hope you skip to this point if you want my May stats. I'm so sorry. No. Here we go. In May, I read 29 books, / one of them was a DNF, which I will briefly mention in a second, but there was a DNF. There was 9,346 pages. All right. The formats, sorry, couldn't remember that word. The formats of these books were I had 5 ARCs, 18 ebooks, 7 ALCs, 3 audiobooks, and 10 physical books. The subgenres of these were I had 12 contemporary, 4 dark romance, 1 dystopian, 9 fanfictions, 2 erotic romance, and 1 non-romance. And then my ratings were I had 1 DNF, I had 10 5 stars, 2 4.5 stars, 10 4 stars, 4 3.5 stars, and 2 3 stars. So the DNF that I had, I believe I talked about that last week. It was the last contract of a Seiko. So definitely check out my weekly wrap up if you want that. In regards to what I always say about this, which I didn't say in the intro because I just went completely rogue. This will not be a recap of every book that I've read. Thank God we'd be here all day because I do that weekly. I do weekly wrap ups, which you can check out up here. This will be my top 5 that I'm going to talk about. The 5 books that I liked best in the month because I like to gush about things if you can't tell. But I did want to mention, yeah, the DNF was the last contract of a Seiko, which kind of breaks my heart, and I hope that I feel inspired to go back to that. But it just didn't quite sit for me. A couple other things to note about the stats here. It is interesting that I only read 4 dark romance. They were all the mafia ones. Well, no, I guess one wasn't because one of the mafia ones was a fan fiction. So that would have been counted as fan fiction and not mafia. So I guess then I had one other that was dark. But very interesting lay of the land, I would say, for how dark romance worked out for me. Oh, yeah, it was Midnight Prince, that one. But anyway, it was a pretty good month, I'd say. So, yeah. Okay, my top reads. So one of these I'll get right out of the way because if you watched my video that I put out recently, which was my top 10 of 2026 so far, which please go and watch that. That has my 5 6-star reads so far this year, and then the top 5 5 stars that I've read. That's kind of how I went to get my top 10. And one of those was The Kingpin's Call Girl, which I just read in May. So that one is in there. So I'm not going to go into it in this one because I literally just talked about it in much more depth there. But just the tropes of that one anyway is that one I read for the Mafia Readathon. It was recommended by Helen. It was actually Helen's pick. And it actually has the heroine undercover as a call girl to start with because she's trying to find information about her sister. And there's this shady detective who has coerced her basically into pretending to be a call girl for the night. And when she's pretending to be this call girl, she ends up catching the eye of the head of the Albanian mafia. Is it Albanian? I think so. She catches the eye of the Albanian mafia, and he ends up wanting to spend even more time with her. Yes. And she's like, well, I'm only working one night. So she ends up having sex with him for work, even though, again, she's not supposed to be, this isn't supposed to have to be her job, right? But she does it. And then the shady detective is like, oh my God, you don't understand. We've been trying to hook this guy forever. You must keep seeing him. And she's like, fuck no, I don't want to. And he's like, well, if you don't, then I'm not going to help your sister. So he completely blackmails her into doing it. But the more time she spends with the hero, which I think, is it Luca? What's his name here? yeah, Luca and Edie are the couple. She actually becomes quite intrigued by him. And yeah, things go from there. So yeah, check out my full review about that over there. But I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very unique. I liked the look of the Albanian mafia. I've really only read the Albanians as like the villains before. And even it's funny even say that because also during the readathon, I read Cruel Savior by Lilith Vincent, and the Albanians were the villains in that one as well. And so it was so interesting because there was all this stuff about the Albanian mafia I didn't know. And I loved looking into it. And then it was immediately like a refresher in Cruel Savior. Like the terms for their Don is called like the Kyrie, which is like the king of it. And they're almost kind of spiritual about it, which was really interesting. So really liked that. Okay, then there was King of Gluttony. Now, this one almost made it in my top 10. It really did. It was so close. But to be honest, it's like I always put Anna Huang in my top. And I really enjoyed this, but I honestly, the other books in my top 10 were just closer to it, I guess. This was a bit of a quieter one from her, I think. And I think it still managed to be really unique. I really liked the couple. But I mean, I'm not trying to put it down because it's one of my top reads of May. It didn't make it in my top 10 of the year so far. So I don't want to be putting it down. I really enjoyed this. But I listened to the audio of this one. And it was a duet narration by Connor Crace and Sunila Nyankani. I'm so sorry. I'm sure I butchered that. But it is, I believe, Maya Singh is the character's name, and I believe she is Indian American. Her family is Indian. And their families are friends, but Maya and Sebastian are like rivals with one another. And they have been their whole lives. But the more you get to know them, you realize that they've only become stronger rivals because there was almost something with them before that kind of got spoiled when they were at the same, was it boarding school or college? I think it's when they were graduating like the same, I don't remember which it was, but something was spoiled between them and it amped things up. But their families are in the food industry. Her family's in like frozen dinners. His family is in like restaurants and things like that. And they both do the marketing for them. And their fathers, the companies, decide to do this like branded deal together. Sorry, that shininess. See if I hold it this way, maybe it'll be okay. They're basically, because they both work the marketing, they're forced to work together. And there's a lot on the line because Maya's family's trying to push her into a marriage because her family, that's a big deal. They're supposed to get married. It's cultural reasons. And Sebastian's trying to prove himself to his father that he wants to be a chef. He doesn't want to do the business side. So they both are trying to prove things to their fathers. And they see the other person as being in their way. But again, a lot of it is they have a great respect for each other. And in all honesty, this is what I love, the difference between rivals to lovers and enemies to lovers. Because, of course, a quote from Heated Rivalry does it for me. But it's like, there's no one they'd rather compete against than each other. Because they make each other better. And there's no one else they see at the top but the other person. And if someone's gonna fuck with one of them, it's gonna be the other person. And if anyone else is trying to get in the way, they're gonna take that out, you know? And I like that kind of rivalry, right? It's in our hearts at this point, you know? So I really enjoyed how this one did it. And I loved a lot of the situations I got into. And though there were a few pretty frustrating aspects about this, I like that the third act conflict wasn't between the two of them. And also, it's difficult because, and this is probably why too, this one, it was tougher to make it like be in my top of the year, is because a lot of every word I want to say is so trite. And that's what romance is in a lot of times. So I'm not trying to down talk to it. But these are rich people problems in this. And that doesn't mean that can't work for a romance. But a lot of their issues of like her family's trying to push her into a marriage and his father isn't believing in him, like They have so much going for them. They could literally say fuck off to both their families and make a go of anything on their own that they want to. They absolutely could. And so the only thing really holding them back is them trying to honor their family's wishes in certain things. And that can get frustrating when you're reading it. Like, it just can. There's no way around it. But I did enjoy it so much, and it was so sweet. And the soft little things they do, and as they begin to know one another better. And then the other thing too, there is, and it's even in this picture, see this letter that she's holding, there is this one thing that is a reason why Sebastian is pretty angry with her, and he's kind of over it now, but he holds this resentment about something that happened many years ago, and it has to do with a letter. Oh, look, the letter's on the front too. I didn't have to show you the picture. It has to do with a letter, and it just never gets resolved satisfactorily to me. It is a letter that destroyed their possibility of being together so many years ago, and they just kind of like let it all go at the end, which is great. They're together, but I was like, that is not enough retribution for my heart for what happened to them. So that's what I felt about that. And I know I'm not the only one, because I've seen other people say that it just didn't feel like an Anna Wong definitive ending to that type of thing. Like, I wanted some more too, you know? Okay. Then we got some fanfics. Okay, you guys know it. I got 2 of them this month, and I really tried not to only have those, but both of these made me weep. They both made me weep. So they ended up here. So one of these is called Hopelessly Waiting for Your Love. And this one was fascinating because I had never read something like it. And it's described as like implanted memories or like reverse amnesia or something like that. So this one is set, of course, Shane and Ilya, and it is set during the, okay, so the setting is like everything has happened up to episode 5 in the show, but they've never hooked up. So they've been rivals. They respect each other, and they've had like a moment at All Stars where they talk to one another, but they're not in love. They've only kind of flirted with one another, and that's it. And then Shane gets hurt in the normal fashion. And when he wakes up in the hospital, he has imagined all of the events of heated rivalry, and they're in his head now. And he thinks that he's in love with Ilya. And so he wakes up and asks his parents where Ilya is. And they're like, Rosanov? Well, I mean, and in this world, like, he had like checked in on him as a captain would. He didn't come to see him as a lover would. And so he's, headed back to Boston. And Shane is just absolutely bereft for this life that he never had. And I know that that's so weird to like explain it, but I loved it in a way because it almost felt like it's like how we've all felt when we've had a really great dream, that everything we wanted happened in it, and we wake up and it's gone. And it's just wild. And so Shane says a few things to his family about it, and they're just like, are you okay? And the doctors are like, well, he has a concussion, and maybe, he just got shook up a little bit. But he has basically these implanted memories, and they're like all the events of heated rivalry, if they were all a dream. But what I liked about this story is that it was him waking up at the beginning of it, right? Now, there's stories like this we've read where they're devastating because they wake up at the end of it and it was all a dream. Well, in this story, he wakes up at the beginning and he's had this dream. So because we know heated rivalry, we know what the dream is and how absolutely devastating that would be. But what's beautiful about it, and because Ilya Rosanov is Ilya Rosanov, who does think Shane is hot and is into men, when he, Shane demands to talk to Ilya before he believes this, and he doesn't have Ilya's phone number. It's not even in his phone under the name Lily. He has to get it through someone else. And Ilya's he's very respectful to him on the phone, chirps him a little bit, but is like, are you okay? That was a really hard hit. Marlo's sorry he hit you. And Shane is just like, you don't know any of it. And Ilya is like, no, I don't. But Ilya is curious. And so now they have each other's phone number and they start texting. And Ilya teases him. He's like, are you imagining me? Or do you remember, should I send you a picture so to see if I'm what you imagine? So now they start flirting. And at first it almost seems a bit cruel because it's like, again, we know what Shane has lost, even if it was just a dream. But there's nothing to build off of. Because they do have a mutual respect. They're not as antagonistic against each other as they would be even in a world where they were faking a rivalry. And so they build a friendship very quickly. And it very quickly leads to Ilya being like, actually, now that I know you're interested, I want to date you. And I've said enough, but it was actually so cute. And this one is by Aftna, Aftna, who I believe, I got to check quick. Yeah, they also wrote In This and Every Life, which was one I read at the beginning of May that I really enjoyed as well. What was that one? Let me see. Oh, yeah. And I read that one at the beginning, which was a Shane plane crash one, and I loved it. And that's how I found this one. So yeah, really, really loved this. It was so sweet and it wasn't super long. And it just was so cool because yeah, then they end up dating. And then one particular scene I want to point out is they finally are going to make love for the first time. And Ilya's like super nervous. He's like shaking, like his cross is like shaking when he's hanging over Shane. And he's like, you've imagined this 100,000, well, not 100,000, like 1,000 times. What if I don't live up to your thoughts about me? And Shane says like, no dream I had or fantasy is as good as actually having you here in front of me. And I was just like, Shane, you know how to pull out the swoon too, my boy. You know how to pull it out. So love it, love it. Okay, and then the other one I'll just mention briefly because I just talked about this one last week. This one was 20 Stitches in a Hospital Room by Holiday Party. And this one is traumatic, I'm telling you, okay? I know I love seeing Shane be hurt, apparently. But this is one where now all the events are the same up to 5, except the accident is Shane gets hit with a skate in the throat. And Ilya's right there. He immediately applies pressure to the wound and he won't let go. He won't let go. They can't make him let go until they get Shane to the hospital and are able to put him under and stitch him up. But now, you know, at first people want to just say, oh, Ilya's just there. Like he was just, you know, oh, he did this despite him being a rival. And Ilya is just furious because he's like, okay, despite the fact this is the love of my life, this was a human in front of me and everyone else was just watching. And Ilya literally had Shane's life in his hands. And the fact that everyone wants to make it about like, oh, he's so honorable, even though it's your rival, he's like, this is a human, this is a man, this is a fellow opponent. I don't want to watch him bleed out and die. But also it's the love of his life. And so that leads to, you know, Una and David arriving. And at first they're just thanking him and just being like, oh my God, thank you for saving my son. And, you know, Ilya has to admit, like, also I love him. And so all those conversations now happen. And it jumpstarts everything because, you know, Ilya doesn't have the fear anymore because he'd already seen the worst thing happen. And again, this is canonically the same too. Like his dad has just died. He doesn't want to go back to Russia anyway. And now the love of his life almost died in front of him. He hasn't told this man he loved him yet, but he told him on the phone that he loved him. And he's telling Shane too when he's holding him. He's like, I love you. If you don't, like, I love you. They're telling each other, like, oh my God, it'll rip your guts out, but then it's really sweet. Okay. You guys know I love the tragic ones. Okay. I'm sorry. But this one's good. It's quick. You can even skip the graphic parts. Like the person puts a warning in there for you. You can skip to him being okay. And then it's really more about, there's a scene in here where Yuna absolutely rips Ilya's coach a new asshole. I love it. When he's like, you haven't given him grief counseling yet after his father died, and now he just witnessed a gory scene. He saved someone's life, and she just like rips the guy open. I just love it. And this one's really short too. This one's only like 20k words, which means it's only like 120 pages. Oh my god, this one was so good. So truly, it had to make it on my favorites list. It just did. I had to put it up there. Yeah, loved it. Okay, now, the last one I'll mention, which isn't a fanfic, okay? Let me do a regular story as well. But I also went on for a really long spiel in a weekly wrap-up about this one, was Maple and Moonlight by Daphne Elliott. I gave this one 5 stars. It's a 2.5 on the spice scale. And this was a single mom of 3 who moves to this small town. She becomes a teacher. She has a daughter who is about to turn 13. She has a son, I think, who's about 10, and then a daughter younger than that. Her son is autistic. Her husband is in prison because he almost killed their son by pushing him down the stairs. I'm just going to tell you that because it's traumatic and you need to know it, okay? And then the romance is between her and her landlord, who is grumpy. He is a maple farmer, and he has a dog who is one of the best parts of the book. This dog is an all-star, okay? I love him. I talk in depth about this in my other review, but the dog, who is a bit like his owner and is kind of crabby, he immediately falls for the kids and is very protective and loving of them. So cute. I love it. And let's see. But yeah, she's very distrustful, and as you would be when she came from the abusive life she was in. And then she also has an in-law who's trying to push her way into their lives and disturb everything, and it's just really fucked up. And then yeah, things get really sticky with, oh, that's a funny joke, Maple and Moonlight. When the small town just wants to embrace her, and she's like, why is this town so nosy? And it's like, girl, you moved to this small town in Vermont that just wants to love you and is nosy as hell. And she's just like, why does everyone want to be in my business? And it's just because they want to care, you know. But the hero of this one is Josh, and he seems really grumpy. They have some miscommunications early on because her son, he's very curious and he's getting into a lot of things, and a lot of things on Josh's farm are dangerous, and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't think that Selena isn't doing a good job with her kid, but he also realizes she can't be everywhere at once. And so there's a few times where they have these disagreements and she turns into a mama bear because she thinks he doesn't think she's a good mom, when really he's like, no, I'm just trying to help you and I worry about your kid. But I didn't get mad at her because she's from such a tough situation that I understand her being like, don't fucking talk to my kid like that, or getting defensive. And with some people, I would be like, bitch, you need to calm down. But I didn't feel that way about her because I understood it. Great narration in this one. Loved the story. Loved their kind of slow burn in this one. Loved how he was with the kids. Loved how his family was with the kids. And loved just all the different coping mechanisms they'd come up with to deal with her ex. And just how protective she was. Like, I loved it. And I loved how the town becomes protective of her too. I love that shit. Okay, I love that shit so much. So yes, this is book 2 in a series. You can absolutely just start with this one if you want to. Book 1 in the series is the one where it was a surprise, like, birth, right? I keep bringing that up because I also really liked book 1 in this series, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But, you know, if you look up Maple and Moonlight, you'll see the other one. And in that one, she doesn't know she's pregnant till she finds out from the paramedic, who is also the baby daddy. And in this one, Josh was actually the cousin of that guy. And that guy had been living with Josh until, you know, he had a baby, and now he lives with his baby mama. So love the family and everything. And I can't wait for the next one in the series. These are really good ones. So, All right, I will wrap this up. And I mean, an hour-long video for me, that's nothing new. But sorry for all the rambles at the beginning. But May was so fun. And in June, like I said, there's a lot to look forward to. I am no longer going to the Minnesota book signing. I thought I would say that in case anyone was still expecting to see me. It's just not going to work out. Like, the ticket wasn't that expensive, but my family actually no longer lives in the Twin Cities. So I'm just not as interested in going anymore for that. I'm doing some other fun stuff. I'm going to Valley Fair with my sister and the kids for the first time. The girls are going. Super excited. There's going to be family camp at the end of the month. And instead of in July, it's actually like the very end of June this time. And then, yeah, July has a bunch of fun stuff coming too. So it's definitely still going to be a very busy month. The birthday party coming up. So yeah, there'll still be a lot going on, but I won't be going to the Star of the North, which is a bummer. I've had that ticket for almost 2 years, but looking at it coming up, I'm just like, it just isn't going to work out. And I'm okay with that because yes, the ticket was $60, but all the other stuff that goes with going, like the travel there and then staying there, and none of my like close friends are going this time around. And if I would have been able to stay with my cousins, I would have still went because I would have made like a whole weekend out of it and stayed with them, but they moved to Texas. My cousins moved to Texas. So I'd just rather spend money other places and do fun stuff. But speaking of that, I did want to mention I do have some new supplies that I need restocked. So I will link down below my supply list. The supplies you guys filled me up on like 8 months ago now lasted a long time. I really appreciate it. But in the past 9 months, I have annotated, get ready for this, over, I counted it up, almost 200 books. So I do go through, in the last 9 months, almost 200 books have I annotated. Yep, more than that, I think, but for sure that many. So I go through the highlighters and pens quite quickly, and I'm running low on some shipping boxes. So I do have a supply list there. I have those supplies at the top. So if you are so inclined, there's no pressure at all. It's just some people enjoy sending me some things that I need, not just books or goodies, but things that really help my small business. So I will link those in the description, as well as links to all the books that I talked about. So thank you so much. I love y'all to the moon and back, and